Hey, this is Casey with the Division Productions, and today I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to use a DSLR camera to shoot HD video and make it look awesome. Very first thing you want to check is focus. And with the DSLR, it has a very shallow depth of field, which means that only a little bit is in focus at a time. And so you want to make sure you hit that just right, because you won't be able to fix it in post. And when you focus, you want to make sure that you use the focus assist, because it's really hard to tell if something's in focus on a little screen like this, especially if you're going to do a still. Right now I'm using a Canon 7D, and I have this little rectangle which I can move around with my little joystick here, and I can hit this button and zoom in, and that will help me get really nice focus on my subject. And when you're shooting a human subject just like this, I always want to focus on the eyes, because that's where the viewer is going to want to look. Next thing you want to make sure that you have just right is your ISO. And if you don't know what an ISO is, it's the sensitivity of the camera to light. And so if you have a lower ISO, there's lower sensitivity. If you have a higher ISO, it's higher sensitivity. So if I bring up my ISOs, a lower ISO like ISO 100 is going to be really dark. Whereas if I bring it up to, say, 1600, it's going to be really bright. Another note about ISOs is the more sensitive your camera is to light, the more noise gets introduced into the image. And if you say, what do you mean noise? You mean audio noise? No, I mean like digital grain. And so I'm going to roll on this camera, and let's turn off the lights. So I'm at ISO 1600 right now. If I pump this up a little more, it brightens up the image, but as you can see in the footage, there's a lot of noise. So the rule is that you want to keep your ISO as low as possible. That's a good general rule, and you want to try and keep it under 1600, because as you can see at 6400, it's pretty noisy. If I can bring it down to 16, it's still pretty noisy, but it's somewhat usable. There's a lot more about ISOs and noise and dealing with noise than we can really address in this video, but stay tuned for some of our pro tips which are going to go over all of that. Another really important factor for shooting video with a DSLR is your shutter speed, which is how long is your sensor exposed to light. When you're setting your shutter speed, you generally want it to be twice your frame rate. So if you're shooting 24p, you're going to want your shutter speed to be 1/48th of a second. And the reason for that is just this. So here's Aaron, and I'm shooting him at 24p at 1/50th shutter. And the reason for this is motion blur. And so Aaron, move your arms around. If you were to pause this video, you'd see that his hands are pretty blurry, and the blur fills in kind of the space in your mind so it doesn't look so chunky. It's kind of blurry, like that camera. Looks nice, right? Here's what happens if I pump up the shutter speed. First of all, it's going to make the image noticeably darker, and so I'm going to have to iris up. You'll also notice that his hands are a lot less blurry now. It's kind of chunky, which, unless you're going for a specific effect, doesn't look good. So you want to keep it at about twice your frame rate. Should be 48, but we don't have 48, so it's 1/50th. That brings me to your other tool for exposure, which is your iris, which is how much light enters the lens. Every lens has an iris, just like your eye has an iris. If there's more light, then it's going to shrink down and just let light in through a little hole. And so less light is hitting the lens, which makes the image darker. If it's really dark, you're going to open up your iris, just like your eye does. If you want to see something cool, go take a flashlight, put it in your eye, and look in the mirror, and then take it out and see your eye go, pew. It's besides the point. You guys ever done that? No. Super good. Dan's done it. Good job, Dan. So the iris affects your exposure, but it also affects your depth of field, which means that if you have a really open iris, more things are going to be blurry in front and behind the subject. If your iris is shrunk down, it's just like if you're squinting with your eyes, you can see a little bit clearer. More will be in focus behind our subject and in front than if our iris was really big. This isn't a very fast lens, which means that it doesn't have the ability to open the iris really, really wide. But right now I'm at the widest point, which is 4.0, which means that right here, this logo is a little bit blurry. And then my hand in front is very, very blurry. But if I iris down, I have to ISO up quite a bit because we don't have much light in here. But you can see that not only is my finger a lot more in focus, but so is the logo back here. And so your iris is directly related to your depth of field. The measurement of an aperture is actually a little bit confusing because the higher the number, the less light it lets in. And so if you have a lower number, the more wide open it is and the more light comes in. That's about all you need to know right now. We'll probably touch on that a little bit later. Another really important thing for shooting video with your DSLR is white balance. So that's how your camera thinks about what is white, what is black, what is gray. And so if you have a different color of light, it's going to cast your image toward a certain color. And you can compensate with that in your camera. Different types of light are cast different colors. What we think of as white is actually white in sunlight. Fluorescent lights are actually cast a little bit green compared to sunlight. A tungsten light compared to sunlight looks a little bit orangish reddish. Chances are you haven't noticed that because your eye constantly adapts to the different types of light. Similar to our eyes, we have to adapt our cameras to the different types of light. If we're out shooting in the daylight, we need to make sure we have a daylight white balance, which means that when it sees white out in daylight, it records it as white. To give you a little bit more of an idea of how white balance works, I'm going to use this white clipboard. Right now we're under fluorescent lights, and this camera is balanced to white fluorescent. So here we go. This looks pretty darn white. Now let's go outside without changing white balance and we'll see what this looks like. So here we are outside, same clipboard, same white balance. Here's a split screen. So you need to make sure that you set your white balance to the light that you're shooting under if you want your whites to look good. This is something that you can change to a point in color correction, but as long as you shoot it right, you don't have to correct it and it comes out a little bit higher quality. Another really important thing about your DSLR is selecting a frame rate. And now, most of the time you're going to want to shoot 24p because it gives you that nice film look. The old film cameras would shoot at 24 frames a second. This actually shoots at 23.976 frames per second, but it's pretty darn close and everybody will love it. It'll look great. We'll also get into that a little bit later. So that, I think, about does it for us. Once again, my name is Casey with the Division Productions. This is Aaron. If you hit him right here, he dies just like the putties in Power Rangers Mighty Morphin Original Series. Thank you to Sam, who's behind the camera right now. If you like this video, make sure to let us know by hitting like. Also hit subscribe so that you can get all of our videos as soon as they come out and you can be our friends and we can be friendly and maybe we'll have lunch sometime. You don't know. So make sure that it's cool, we're not shooting. Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.